that we shall pay any price, bear any burden.
Just 3 days after President Kennedy promised America would carry the burden of defending the free world,
oppose any foe to assure the survival and the success of liberty.
the very weapons it built to do it nearly turned against us. January 1961 was the height of the Cold War.
This was the time when people were building fallout shelters in the backyard, duck and cover.
America had a dozen B-52s in the air at all times, ready to strike the Soviet Union at a moment's notice.
So each time I took off, I had a set that, the president called. We were going to die because I didn't think we'd ever get back. We were on a suicide mission.
Adam Maddox was a pilot of one of those B-52s called Keep 19 that took off from Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in Goldsboro on the morning of January 23rd of 61.
Another 24-hour day.
But not just another plane.
And they were fully loaded. They had 2 thermonuclear bombs on board.
About halfway through their mission, the trouble started aboard Keep 19.
They had this huge fuel leak. They lost 19 tons of fuel in 2 minutes. Something was really bad wrong with that thing.
They tried to return to Seymour Johnson, but about 12 miles out, they realized how bad their situation was.
Oh, I committed to death 3 times.
They turned off some engines, and the fuel leak was destroying others.
And the airplane started going right, and they fought it. And then the right wing completely folded up and came off of that airplane. The airplane disintegrated in midair.
But I thought I was going to die by myself. I thought everybody else would get out except me.
Pilot Scott Tulloch had given the order to abandon the plane.
He looked at me as if to say, I'm sorry, I can't control it. Well, I knew that. He rotated his handle, jettisoned his hatch, hit his triggers, and he went out.
So Adam Maddox, the only pilot without an ejection seat, literally took a leap of faith and jumped for the hatches that the other pilots had just gone out of, and somehow avoided getting cut in half by the rest of the spiraling airplane, and began floating towards this field. That was the good news. The bad news was there were 2 nuclear bombs aboard that plane that were blown out of the bomb bay as if they were launched in an attack. That's when Jack Revell got a wake-up call from his squadron commander.
He says, Jack, I got a real one for you.
Revell was a 25-year-old explosive ordnance disposal expert, which he needed to be because there was explosive power greater than all the bombs ever used on this planet hanging from the trees in Pharaoh. Revell and his team disarmed this one relatively easily.
But that's when the real challenge started, because now we turn our attention over to the weapon that penetrated the ground.
And the Air Force was in full alert damage control.
They said 4 things. There were 2 bombs. They were unarmed. Both bombs had been recovered, and there was no danger. Out of those 4 things, only one thing was really true. There were 2 bombs.
Along right there.
Billy Reeves knew that.
Taking the carport off.
Because he saw it all from his bedroom window.
I was looking dead at the plane when it hit the ground, and it exploded twice after it hit the ground.
About this far from that White House Billy lived in, which is why he was one of the first people to get to the wreckage.
See, all this road here, across here, was almost melted. There was debris scattered everywhere you can imagine out there.
The most important piece of debris was the second bomb, which hit the soft farm field going 700 miles an hour.
We started digging first with shovels, and then realized this thing has gone way, way deep. Shovels aren't going to cut it.
So they brought in more men and bigger gear.
In less than 2 weeks' time, it looked like a small town out here. It was all lit up.
They were desperately looking for the bomb, particularly the switch that would tell them if it were on armed or safe. Eventually, one of Revell's team found it.
He calls up from out of the hole. He says, hey, Lieutenant, I just found the arm safe switch. I said, good. He says, no, not good. It's on arm. I get goosebumps now even talking about that.
But the bomb ended up in pieces. Revell eventually found the plutonium primary part of the bomb. They never did find the uranium portion of that bomb, and to this day it remains 180 feet below this ground. Repeated study says there's no real danger from what's left of the bomb resting beneath these farm fields. Adam Maddox was one of the 5 crew members who survived the crash.
Lord had to be in it. It wasn't haphazard. It wasn't just luck.
3 of the crew did not. And though the scars have long left the landscape,
But nobody from here back that way 20 miles
they linger in the minds of the people who still live here.
knew
the danger that we were really in and didn't know, and how lucky we were.
That luck and the good work of the men involved that day is all chronicled in Joel Dobson's book, The Goldsboro Broken Arrow. So is the assessment of America's Defense Secretary at the time, Robert McNamara, who later said about the bombs
that they went through 6 of the 7 steps in order to detonate. They did not go through one step, which was the arm safe switch.
One step away from a disaster we would still be paying for half a century later. Bob Buckley, Fox 8 News.